So we have something in common. You're here to talk about transformation, and I've kind of been through this little transformation. So, and then also, in addition to my weight loss, get fit story, I founded a nonprofit that works with community leadership teams to teach them about the process of vision-based, data-driven change. So what I thought I'd do today is I'll talk about my story and kind of share that with you, but then I'm also going to drop in little lessons learned through our work with working with 400 different leadership teams across the country to help them transform their communities. And then the other thing I want to do, since we're here at this institute, is I thought I'd weave in your journeys. So we'll stop periodically to talk about, okay, here's a lesson. Now, how does it apply to the work that you're doing as you're researching and looking for topics that get you so fired up, that speak to your hearts and give you that fire in the belly that you want to go out and do something. You can't help but be active because you're just so fired up. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll stop periodically to do just 15-second activities to merge what we're talking about into what we're doing here at the Institute. So make sense? Does that work out? Yes? No? Yes? Okay. Okay, so let's get started. So this is my story in a nutshell. When I started this journey, I weighed 335 pounds. I was morbidly obese, and as was mentioned, I lost 200 pounds. And along the way, I discovered that I like sports, and specifically I like triathlon. And one thing led to another, and I ended up finishing 6th in the world and 1st American at the World Triathlon Championship. So it's just, so thank you. So you can see why I called this talk Anything is Possible. I mean, if I can do that, anything you want to do with your projects, you can do it. Let's talk about my fitness journey. So I was a fitness lackey all of my life. Sometimes when people see, that I competed at Worlds, they think, well, she must have been a star athlete in her youth. No, I was not. Matter of fact, when I was in school as a kid, we didn't even have sports for girls. It was just not something that was offered for girls. We didn't have the opportunity to participate in sports. When I was in school for PE, they would take the boys off to the gym to play basketball. They would take the girls into the home ec room to square dance. So, yeah, so it was totally, we didn't have those opportunities. So I never knew that I even liked sports until I was 60 years old. And then as an adult, I was eating to stay awake at work and getting obese, and I just never occurred to me to get involved in anything fit. So until I was 60, the fitness was just something that I didn't do at all. So the first exercise I did, this is after I started losing a little bit of weight. I'd maybe lost 5 pounds. And my husband was always saying, let's go for a walk, let's exercise. And finally I said, okay, let's do it. So we go out the back door. I'm hanging on to his arm, and I probably had at least half of my weight hanging on him. And we go out the back door, we go down the driveway, and we walk to the neighbor's driveway. So it was about, 100 yards? And I was done. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. So we walk back home. I collapse on the couch. I had exercised for maybe 10 minutes. But at the same time, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just exercised. I exercised. And I'm like, I exercised. It was just really, really cool. So the next day, we walked to the same driveway, and then we went one more driveway, and then back. The third day, we walked to the third driveway, and we came back. And every time I do this, I'm texting my children. I walked to the second driveway, and they're texting me back, woohoo, good job, Mom. And then I walked a whole mile, woohoo. So finally, I walked 3 miles, and I text my kids like I always did. I walked 3 miles. And my younger son texts me back, and this is what he said. He said, Mom, that's wonderful. Let's do a 5K race. And I'm thinking, oh, that's for athletes. I'm an obese person. You're crazy. So so that was a little nuts. So because I'm not an athlete, and so but he suggested that and put that idea in my head. But this is what I said to him. I said, Andy, I don't have anything to wear. I don't have the proper clothing. I'll inconvenience people. At that point, I was walking a 30-minute mile, so it would take me an hour and a half to finish a 5K. But my biggest thing was I thought that people would point to me, and I told Andy, I said, just picture this, Andy. I'm obese. People are going to be whispering behind my back. They're going to be saying, look at that obese person. Look at her. She thinks she's going to do a 5K. How could she do that? And I just, the thought of people looking at me and talking about me just was horrifying. Here's what he said back. My son is so wise. He said, Mom, are those excuses? Or is that an action plan? He said, anytime you are thinking about doing something big and those yeah buts pop in your head, those are really things that if you get by them, you'll be able to do whatever you wanted to do. He said, let's not think of that as an excuse. Let's think of those yeah buts as our action plan. And he went on to explain. He said, you don't have proper clothes, so go get some. He said, if you can't afford it, save up your money. Go to the Goodwill, borrow some, or just walk in your street clothes. You don't have to look like an athlete. So you'll inconvenience people. He said, call up the race director, ask them if they'll still be around in an hour and a half. So I did. And they said, yes, we'll still be here cleaning up. It's okay, you're not going to convenience us. So that took care of that, yeah, but. And then he said, people point at you. And he said, Mom, no offense, but that's kind of self-centered. Nobody's looking at you. And he was right. So he said, Mom, we've worked through all the yeah buts, let's do this. So I finally said, okay, and I'm kind of thinking, I didn't really want to do it, but I kind of thought it would be kind of a fun mother-son activity. So I agreed, so he enrolls us or registers us into a 5K. Check out the name of this 5K. So now I have this new fear. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, everybody's going to think that the obese person is there to eat the donuts. Now, I think that dreams are really, really important. If you dream it, you will never do it. So the first guy that climbed Mount Everest, he had to dream about that first. He had to work towards that for years. But if that hadn't been a dream, it never would have happened. When we went to the moon, if we hadn't been able to dream about going to the moon, can you imagine how loony that probably sounded the first time someone said that? Oh, let's fly to the moon. Yeah, right. So dreams are really, really important. You have to dream it before you can do it. The other thing is that I always call them secret dreams because for me at least, my dreams are so out there that if I say them out loud, people will think I'm like nuts. So I'm an obese person talking about doing a triathlon, yeah, right. So I didn't tell anybody. I didn't even tell my husband. For a long time, I just started training. And it wasn't really training. I just made sure I could walk for 3 miles. I made sure I could ride a bike. I made sure that I could swim a little bit with a kickboard and then finally breaststroke. But I had never put all 3 together. And I thought, well, I can do all 3. I could probably do a triathlon. So I signed up for one. So the gun goes off, and we all take off, and we're all swimming for the exact same buoy that's just a little ways out. Well, you can imagine what happened. Everybody's swimming in, toward the same thing. There are elbows all over. I'm getting kicked. I'm getting pushed. I mean, it was really intimidating. And here's this woman swimming on my right, and we're swimming about the same speed. This was life-changing. We're swimming about the same speed, and I'm looking at the buoy that we have to make a right-hand turn around, and she's on my right. And I'm thinking, if we hit that buoy at the same time, I'm going to have to take the outside track, and I'm going to have to swim farther. So I think I'm going to beat her to that buoy. So I'm racing for the first time, this woman, and I'm swimming along, and it's just, I mean, there are people, like her ribs are rubbing against my ribs, and my arm comes up, and I come down in my stroke, and my arm is smack dab in the middle of her back. And I'm thinking, now what do I do? I mean, in real life, if I had hit somebody in the middle of the street, I would have stepped back and said, oh, I'm so sorry, you go right ahead. But we're swimming to that buoy, and my arm's in the middle of her back. So I just kept my arm going, and in the process, I shoved her underwater. And I swam over the top of her. And I loved that feeling. So now I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I just shoved a woman underwater and I liked it. So I'm really feeling bad. I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? Oh my gosh. So I really was quite upset. And I got home and I called my coach and I said, Coach, I think there's a beast inside of me. I shoved this woman underwater and I liked it. And he said, Sue, he said, that's part of competition. That's what competing is. That's okay. He said, you didn't do it on purpose. On the street, you would say, oh, go ahead. But in competition, you're just working to get to the buoy. So that was the first moment when I really realized that I loved competing. I just love, getting out there and doing my best and seeing how I measure up against other people. And it's just, I just love it. So now I'm thinking, I just did my first triathlon 2 years ago. I couldn't even tie my shoes a year from that, and I'm going to Worlds? This is like crazy. So one of the things that was really important in that year as we prepared to compete at the international level was I really had to learn to believe in myself, and that was hard. I mean, it was really easy to say, you are just a beginner, why are you going to Worlds? I mean, that was hard. But I learned, these are some of the mantras that helped me when I was working out or I was afraid to do something that my coach had asked me to do. It was go away fear, go away feared. This is my favorite one. No excuses, whatever it takes, find a way. That was like my biggest mantra. No excuses, whatever it takes, find a way. Worlds is amazing. So at Worlds, there's more than one triathlon. All of the Olympians come and they compete against each other in their triathlon, and then all the age groupers from like 50 different countries are there, and we all are racing with people our same age. But it's all one event, and we're all part of one team. I got to wear the same uniform that the U.S. Olympians wear at the Olympics. We were, racing on behalf of our country. There's a medals count. There's an opening ceremony with a parade of nations that we got to march behind our country's flag, and it was just awesome. And then it was also awesome just being with people from all over the world. It was the first time I had ever been at a global event. And I thought, I'd look around at people and I'd think, oh my gosh, our countries are so different politics, different religions, we're so different. But there, we were all the same. We were all about happiness and joy and health. And it really made me realize that while we are so different in many ways, we are more the same than we are different. This was really, for me, it was a big aha. Amazing. So I've been to 3 Worlds. My first one was in Mexico, then Rotterdam, and last year it was in Gold Coast in Australia. And then I qualified one more time. So in September, I'm going to Switzerland to race on behalf of the United States. So yeah, that'll be fun. Belief in yourself is huge. You have to believe in yourself as a change maker. You are change makers. I know you are. You wouldn't be here if you weren't. So you are a change maker. And on those days when you're doubting that, you now know what to say to yourself. You now know the words that you're going to use with yourself to remind yourself that you are a change maker. And then finally, those things have to be able to overcome. They have to be bigger than resistance. So the main place that resistance is going to come from is within yourself. You're going to say, yeah, but I don't have the money. Yeah, but I don't have the time. Yeah, but I don't have the connections. Whatever it is. So remember that resistance, those yeah buts, that's just an action plan. Whatever you don't have, then you get it. That's how you make that resistance part go down. The other place that resistance may come from are from people around you. So for me, in the beginning, and sometimes even now, it was my husband. My husband would say, Sue, you're 65 years old. Are you sure that this is okay? And I'd have to think, I'd have to deal with that. So when you hit that resistance, we have a way to decrease the resistance while you're building the things on the left. So the final thing that I want to leave you with is just the words again, that I am proof, and I hope that you follow this out and follow this up, that anything you want to do with your projects for PDK, anything is possible. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, thank you so much.